He made you doubt what you knew. He acted like you were confused or you were just really bad at remembering. He acted like you needed just one more screenshot, one more explanation, one more perfectly calm conversation where you finally said it the right way. He did all of this. There's actually a way that abusive men pull you away from your own reality. And I'm telling you guys, once you see this, you're going to see the whole pattern so differently. This is exposing exactly what these men do, because men who are controlling don't necessarily just control what you do. It's what you're allowed to know. This is how abusive men have you step out of your own reality. He makes himself the authority over what happened, what it meant, what you meant, whether your memory even counts, whether your reaction made sense, whether it was reasonable enough for him, and whether you're even allowed to say, this is harmful or this is abusive. This is the covert abuse tactic called epistemic control. And I know that sounds kind of academic, right? But basically, it's control over knowledge. It's over your reality, your interpretation, what information counts, what gets believed, who gets believed, what you're allowed to trust, all of it. Now, in an abusive relationship, this shows up when the guy positions himself as the final authority. And that happens all the time. So a quick example would be like, you hurt me. No, I didn't. That scared me. You're too sensitive. All of that. It's all of the tactics that you already know pushed into one and looking at this as a larger framework. Epistemic control is happening in so many abusive relationships. And this is one of the kind of interesting ways that they will make you talk about something else. They get you off the topic of what he did. We don't want to talk about that because that would be accountability. So you have to then prove that you remember what happened. You have to prove that you were hurt, that it's justified for you to be hurt. And often because he didn't mean it or he claims not to mean it, then there's no impact. The impact is irrelevant. You shouldn't be hurt because I didn't mean to hurt you. It's just that simple, which is actually ridiculous, of course. But look how he takes over what happened and he changes the meaning and he sort of turns himself into a judge, which I think is so interesting, right? He's the authority. I want you to see the superiority in this. So many of my videos, I ask you to look at the superiority because I'm so tired of women saying, these men are just insecure. He's just insecure. He's not insecure. He is superior. He believes that he is entitled to this. He likes the hierarchy in your relationship. He wants power and control. And this is how you know that it's abuse. An abusive man is going to use all of your feelings against you and he's going to move the standard of proof. He's going to keep you stuck trying to prove reality so that you can't respond to what actually happened. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly what he's doing. So when it happens, you can see it, you can name it, and you can stop handing an abusive man authority over what you already know. My name is Lisa Sonni. I'm a certified relationship coach, author of multiple books, and I help women understand what abusive men are doing so they can understand, leave, heal, and rebuild their lives. Okay, so this really starts when he becomes the authority over what happens at all. So let's say something happens, like he says something cruel, maybe the kids are in the room, maybe he threatens you, blocks the door, humiliates you, mocks you, drives aggressively. God, so many of them do that, right? You know what happened. Your body knows, your brain, your memory, you know, you were there. Everything changed in that moment. You felt it. But he steps in and he appoints himself the authority by saying crazy things like, that didn't happen.
I didn't say it like that. You're remembering it wrong. God, you make me sound abusive.
Okay, so what is actually happening in that moment, right? The conversation moved. We're talking about what he did, right? That's what you were trying to talk about. But now you are defending your ability to even know what happened. No, I do remember that. No. You said this and then I said that. No, we were standing here. You're trying to convince him that you remember. Why are you convincing him? The second you step into the frame of you need to defend yourself to him, he's already winning. That's the hierarchy's right there. You're helping him appoint himself the judge. But I understand why this happens, right? I don't say that to be like, this is your fault. I'm saying that so that next time this happens, you know you're not defending yourself. Don't defend yourself. I know what happened. Stop talking. Don't start convincing him of what happened. Think about this. If he can make you doubt what happened, then he doesn't have to answer for what happened because we're not really sure what happened, right? We just see things differently. We just see things completely differently. You just have a bad memory. I remember. Okay, we'll agree to disagree. Absolutely not. No, we will not. We will agree that you're wrong. We will agree that I know what happened, or we won't agree at all. Agree to disagree is not a sentence that can apply in an abusive relationship. You are allowing him to put your memory on trial, and then his behavior isn't part of the conversation at all anymore. He becomes the authority over what it meant as well, and that one really pisses me off because he can deny the event, perhaps, right? He can try to, but there are circumstances where he can't deny the event. There's a text. You see, it's right there in writing. There's a witness. You saw it with your own eyes. The kids heard it, whatever. He knows that you remember it too clearly, so he can't deny that it happened. So here's what he's going to do instead. He's going to take over the meaning of it. Yes, he yelled at you, but it was because of stress. Okay, he ignored you, but he needed space. And he didn't have to communicate that he needed space. He just needed space. So that's why he did that. Therefore, you can't be upset because he just needed space.
You can't get mad at your man because he wants space. What are you, crazy?
Now you're crazy, right? See the flip? He called you a name, right? He's calling you a B word or the very popular C word. He's calling you that. Well, he only called you that because you were being one. He didn't say you are a B. He said you were being a B. And that's completely different. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't go telling people that I called you names when I didn't call you names. I said you were being one. It's totally different. The threat becomes frustration. The arm grabbing is, I was just trying to stop the conversation. Do you see all of this can get explained away, right? And now when you feel fear, which is, as an aside, a completely normal, valid response to any of the things I'm describing, that is you're too sensitive. That's your past trauma. You're bringing your old trauma into this relationship. That's your fault. You need to see a therapist. You're crazy. That's the move, right? He admits just enough to survive the evidence that you have because he can't disprove that the thing happened. So now he's going to change the meaning of what happened. He gets to decide if it counts, if it matters, if it's serious, all him. He's the authority and you're here fighting for your life. And this is something that they do, right? They get you very caught up in debating the definition, right? Like, was it really abuse? It's not abuse. It was toxic. It was an argument. Oh my God, you're calling abuse. You women, you call everything abuse these days. Yeah, patterns of power and control and abusive behavior. Weird that we call it abuse. Women are actually doing something now where we are naming abuse. And the thing is, if I make videos, and I've done this before because I like to play these games, I make videos in the past, and I will show a female perpetrator and a male victim, and that's abuse. Whatever skit I've done, like, oh my God, the men are like, yes, finally, someone's talking about this. That's abuse. Okay, flip the genders. What happened? Right now, suddenly you want the context and you want to understand it more. They're far less likely to label it abuse when they see a man as the perpetrator. It's crazy. Both men and women can be abusive. We know that. But the unfortunate reality is that men are the vast majority of abusive perpetrators. Now, all of what he's doing really is hinging on him being the self-appointed judge, right? He's the authority, this dynamic. He's the judge. So your feelings matter, but only if he agrees with them. And actually, there's a content creator that I follow who made an amazing point that in her marriage, she was constantly having to explain to him why she felt it, how she felt it, if she felt it, and then he would kind of decide. And if he didn't agree with her feeling, he would act like they never had the conversation at all. And I'm like, well, that tracks. That's exactly what it is. That's abusive behavior. Your feelings only matter if he says, yeah, that makes sense. Otherwise, no, your memory requires his approval, right? You have evidence. Hold on. Let me review the evidence. I actually disagree with the evidence, and therefore this isn't true. So he positions himself that way. And we step into this frame all the time because it appears often like a conversation, right? In a normal relationship, when you think of it as a misunderstanding, you think communication will help you get to an understanding. You don't realize that you're in an abusive relationship until like it's way too late and then you're already confused. So I want women to be able to kind of back up and see the patterns as they're building. The first 1 or 2 times that this is happening, you really need to go like, hold on here. This is a very dangerous dynamic. because it only gets worse. An abusive man wants to sit there and decide whether you're allowed to know what you know. So you argue your case and you bring examples and screenshots and all the things under the premise that you're both in this together and you're trying to create like mutual understanding, but that's not it at all, because he's sitting there like the Supreme Court of your life. No, he does not get to judge the harm that he caused. He gets to be accountable for it or nothing. You get to decide if you're hurt, as does he. He gets to decide if he's hurt. And when I say he, I'm of course talking about if it is a male victim, not the abuser gets to decide, because abusers play hurt all the time when they're not hurt, right? They are doing it to even the playing field, to play the victim, to take away from your hurt. So if the abusive man in your life disagrees or denies or minimizes, that's their prerogative. But that doesn't mean you have to change your reality. You have to change your feelings. You were there. You know how you feel. This guy will keep changing the standard of proof. And this is actually the part where we get kind of trapped in this like endless evidence collection state. You know, give me an example. What do you mean? Give me an example. So you give him an example. My God, that was like 2 years ago. You're still on that? Okay, so then you give him a recent example, but you don't remember all the details. So that's too vague. That's not fair. You know, you get really specific. Oh my God, look at you. Every friggin' detail. Okay, Sherlock Holmes. What the hell? You're still on me about that. I can't believe it. Look at you. Would you write that down? Okay, so then you don't write anything down. You just show him a screenshot. Okay, well, that screenshot, that's taken out of context. Where's the rest? So you explain the context. You're over-explaining. You're saying so much. Oh my God, like this is a lecture. If you cry, you're unstable. If you stay calm, you're cold. If you mention the pattern, you're holding grudges. You lose. So this piece is actually called a double bind. And I've made lots of content on double binds. It is aggravating as hell. You can't win. You can't move. You are literally backed into a corner. If you focus on one incident, you're making a big deal out of nothing. You can't talk about the pattern either, because then you're crazy and you're holding on to the past and bringing up old shit. It's crazy. But all of this, right, this framework that I'm describing, it was built to keep him innocent. You cannot keep meeting a standard of proof that is designed to protect his denial. Like, good luck with that. That's impossible. But that's why you always feel like you're one conversation away, one screenshot away, just one more piece of evidence, one more recording. You're always so close. It actually mirrors that pattern of like, you're always so close to him changing, right? If he could just go to therapy, if he could just, these men don't want to change. They like the frame that I'm describing. It is designed this way. So you are thinking, oh, we're having this conflict. And he's like, yeah, this is what I want. And you think you're trying to help. You're not. The only way to get yourself help is to get out. If you understand, right? The point was never evidence. He wants you exhausted. And that's the point. You keep going and you keep trying and you keep working. And when do you ever get to the end? You don't. Keep going. That's the point. He attacks how you know. So let's say you know things through text messages. No, that's not enough. You know it because you felt it. You know it because you were there. You know it because of the memory, because you have a physical reaction, because there are witnesses. You know it the way that your kids also feel it. You know because you rehearse conversations before you even have them with him. You think about what day of the week it is and what his mood is before you ever bring anything up. Your body knows this is danger, right? And then he's like, God, you're so anxious. He's created the anxiousness, but now it's your fault for having a normal reaction. And these body reactions like fear, anxiety, trauma, all of these things, that is just your body doing its job. That's your nervous system protecting you, but that's your fault. That's your choice. That's your trauma, your past, right? You can't get over things. He acts like you have control over that. That is your body doing its job. So if you feel those things, don't ignore it. But it's so easy to say that when you're not in the middle of it. I know. And this is the part of it that I really like. You've got to understand this. He is attacking all of the systems, right? Your body, the evidence, your brain, your memory, your reality, all of it. He's attacking all the systems that you use to tell yourself what is true. And once he trains you to not trust those systems, you will outsource your reality to him because he loves you, right? He's your husband, right? He has your best interest at heart, doesn't he? Does that make sense? It feels like these things because you're in this together. It's you and him, and he's so good to you sometimes. Abusive men are always good to you sometimes. And in fact, sometimes the good is just the absence of abuse, I realize, but it feels good. The relief from abuse, whether it's neutrality or kindness itself, this is the intermittent reinforcement that keeps us stuck, that keeps you trusting him and searching for that relief. So when you're not trusting reality, you look to him, he gives you reality, and you're like, well, he loves me. Maybe I did misunderstand. No, you didn't. Now, one of the worst aspects of this is the way that they use your feelings against you, right? So you cry, and honestly, a lot of these are also like tropes against women, because if you cry, waterworks, tears are emotional at best, right? Too emotional, or manipulative. He can just ignore them completely. If you're angry, you're so aggressive. If you are panicked, you're unstable. If you freeze, if you are like in a trauma response and you're just paralyzed, you're cold. If you shut down, you're withholding sex, right? If you no longer have desire because he's abusive and acts like this, you are a terrible wife, a terrible person. You're frigid and you're withholding, and you're abusive. If you bring it up calmly, it's very calculated. What have you been holding on to that all week? Jesus Christ. But he told you to not bring it up in the middle of the week. And then he told you to bring it up on the weekend. But when you did, what the hell, right? You shouldn't have done that. Again, double bind. You're always wrong. You never forget that part. So you can't do anything. You're just wrong all the time. And the more he destabilizes you, the easier it is for him to tell you that you're unstable. It's like he creates it and then uses that against you. So perfect example, he provokes you, okay? He provokes a fire, and then he uses the smoke to deny the fire. Make that make sense. It's so convenient for these men, and that's why so many women start obsessing over their own tone. It's how we get tone policed, and women are so used to that. It's not even strange for a woman to realize that she needs to step back and go, well, how did I say that? Did I say that with the right words in the right way, on the right day, with the right tone? Men aren't doing that. Broadly speaking, men are not sitting there going, well, how do I say it best? And how do I? No, women are used to that dynamic. So when it's happening in your relationship, I don't even know if women catch that it's happening. You could remove every ounce of anger from your voice, every ounce of justified, righteous anger from your voice, and it won't matter. You're trying to become the perfect witness when you don't need to do that. That's why this is a trap. You're stepping into his frame. He's looking for any reason to not have to deal with the actual truth. So he's going to make you argue about reality instead of responding to it, because he doesn't want to respond to it because he doesn't want to take accountability. So that's a huge problem. You know that he scared you, but now you're arguing about whether or not you had the right to be scared. You know he lied, so now you have to step into a debate about whether it was technically a lie or technically an omission, because you didn't actually ask him, so he didn't lie, he just didn't tell you. And maybe he didn't even tell you yet. Maybe he was going to tell you. All these ridiculous things around it, He could pressure you, and then you have to prove that pressure is a bad thing. When I was just asking, I could just imagine, I could sit here and argue with myself all day long because I know exactly what these men sound like. I know this from working with thousands of women over the years and having been in an abusive relationship myself, but I see the patterns. I study abusive men. What we think is that knowing all of these things is supposed to move you in the direction of protection, of a plan, of leaving. We learn about boundaries and getting help, and we learn that we need to get out of these relationships, and yet we're in this cycle. We're in like reality court. We're trapped in this spot of proving, we're litigating in our relationships. In fact, my ex used to tell me all the time that I would have made a great lawyer because I was always litigating, but he put me in a position to feel like I needed to do that. You realize if you just accepted my version as I was there, or at least accept that I have feelings, then I wouldn't have had to feel like I needed to litigate that. It's again how they get you to do that, and you don't even realize it until you're out. And I see the amount of women that are like, I have videos, I have phone calls, I have text messages, I have recordings, I have a notebook. Look, as if they're trying to prove to me what happened. You don't have to prove that to me. You don't even have to prove that to yourself, right? All these things that we do in texts, text receipts and literal receipts and emails to yourself and photographs and all these things. And you look crazy, right? Like, oh my God, what the hell? Yeah, because you had someone trying to build a case against you. So you're sitting here trying to hold on to your own reality. I don't actually think that women are usually making a case against him to anyone else. They're making a case to prove to themselves that this is reality. They feel crazy. So you might present it to him and it might appear like you might even think you're trying to convince him. And maybe you are a bit, but you're trying to convince yourself because you forget half the things now. You doubt your memory. I don't know that you actually forget. You feel like you forget because he has made you doubt everything. So you're collecting this all for yourself to be like, this is what happened. I didn't invent it. I'm not exaggerating. I also have a lot of clients who actually start conversations with, I just need to know that this is abuse. Can you just tell me that what happened to me meets the criteria for abuse? Am I crazy? I don't have to do that for you. You can do that for you. I'm happy to do it. If it sounds like abuse, I'm going to tell you that it sounds like abuse because what I'm looking for is patterns. You can't just tell me one instance, right? When this stuff happens on a large scale over time and you are losing your autonomy and your reality, yeah, that's abuse. But I'm going to tell you a little side thing here about evidence collection because in many ways, an abusive relationship is like a cage. Evidence collection is just a different cage because you're documenting and you're proving and you're working on this and whatever, and you're not trusting the pattern that you've already built. What point do you get to where you go, okay, that's enough evidence. Now I know. Because I've never seen someone actually get there. I see women like, but I still need to know. Even if you have all the evidence, then you go into the, but why does he do this? Why? So he wants to control me. Why? And then you're in another cage. All of this, trust the pattern and help yourself get out of it. It's not easy. It's why there are people who help women get out of these relationships. It's why I'm a coach that specializes in helping women both exit these relationships and heal and rebuild themselves after, because this is a lot of pieces really to put back together. Context is kind of a crazy piece too, because context obviously matters, right? But abusive men use context to kind of bury the truth, right? So he will threaten you, but then, oh, I only did that because I was afraid you were going to leave me. Okay. So that's justified? Yeah, to him, it's justified. Exactly. And there's a million examples of that. If he pressures you to have sex, he just wanted to be close to you. I know, like it's actual coercion, right? It's non-consensual sex, which there's a 4-letter word for that, okay? But I just wanted to be close to you. Oh, okay. So that 4-letter word is the justification. Like you can do just because you wanted it. I don't understand, right? Wanting to be close to someone, there's a million ways to be close to someone. You didn't want to be close to me. You wanted sex. That's what that was. But they don't say that. And they don't say it because they know that sounds bad. They're using different words, fluffy, nice language to confuse you. They're trying to give you context, but context should explain reality. It shouldn't take away the impact of what actually happened. If the context always makes him innocent and you are unreasonable, watch that. Clock that. That's the pattern. Every explanation leads back to he's just misunderstood. You're just being unfair. You just don't understand. You're so
miserable. You don't understand. You don't understand me. You don't understand men.
They act like they're talking about nuance, and they're not. They're really not. Abusive men don't really understand nuance. They're actually very black and white, which tracks because narcissism, right? Even if it's just the traits, not the actual personality disorder, there's a lot of cognitive distortions. It's very black and white thinking. That's very common in people with that disorder or people with high traits. But he's not adding context. He's replacing accountability. And he makes you so dependent on his interpretation. Over time, women start to they change how they move in the relationship. They start checking in with him. Like, was that bad? Did I overreact? Did I misunderstand? Did I make it worse? Is this abuse? Am I allowed to just be done? Do I have a good enough reason to leave a man like this? Because he's positioned himself as the interpreter. You keep returning to the person harming you for confirmation that the harm happened. And it's such a disgusting cycle. It's such a trap because you're asking the man who benefits from your confusion to certify reality. Of course he says no. Of course he says, you're crazy, you're too emotional, you made it worse, whatever. His denial, that's not evidence of anything. His disagreement means nothing. It means nothing. A man's opinion when he's abusing you is mud, truly. You have to connect this back to a trauma bond because this is why you feel kind of, I would argue, like addicted. You feel a bit of addicted to clarity, okay? You are attached to him, but you're also attached to the hope that he's going to admit it one day. Trauma bonds are really built on fear and hope, okay? Hope that he'll change, hope that he'll go back to things as they used to be, hope that therapy would make him better, hope that he'll admit it, hope that he'll take accountability. You want that. You want, yes, I lied. Yes, I scared you. I controlled you. I was wrong. And that fantasy, it feels so good, right? If you could ever get there, it would feel like, oh, see, I feel it. That's addictive. It's a crazy cycle. Like the person who damaged your knowing becomes the person that you want validation from. So you keep going back to him for like the receipt, the confession, right? You want the acknowledgement. You want the sentence that would make everything go like, oh, okay, I got it now. But he's going to withhold that. So you keep explaining and you revisit the same conversations and you investigate because you don't want to admit that he's abusive. Because admitting he's abusive means you're abused. And then if you're abused, you have to leave. And if you have to leave, you have to look at everything, the finances, the money, the kids, the house, the life, the fantasy, the hope. Your whole life is going to blow up if you admit that it's abuse. So very unconsciously, we're stuck in this traumatic cognitive dissonance. We're stuck in a trauma bond. You are struggling to see reality. So when people are like, just leave, try it when you're in it, okay? It's hard. It's extremely hard. I teach women how to leave because it's so hard. But this is how epistemic control keeps you really bound to a man like this. It makes his agreement feel like the thing that you need. But you don't need one more screenshot. You don't need any more evidence. You don't need more proof. You have it. You have enough evidence and enough proof. I want you to come back to trusting yourself. And yeah, that's incredibly difficult. But this is the point that he's made it so difficult, right? Your emotional response, your fear, your evidence, all of it. Your body's nervous system flying off like an alarm system. This is what epistemic control does. It separates you from your own knowing and reality. It keeps you stuck in this like investigation when you actually need protection. You need action, but you're arguing reality. You want him to validate truth, but this man benefits from denying the truth. So if you remember what happened, that matters, and that's all that matters. He doesn't have to agree for it to be real. Subscribe if you're not already. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, I have single sessions, I have packages. You can also work with me in any of my group coaching sessions that I co-host with Dr. Peter Salerno. You can also join me in my monthly online community called She Rises Collective. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.